The Block Talk podcast started because of my passion for the property management industry. I wanted to start a conversation and add some value within the industry with a diverse range of people and professionals who can add something extra. As we start out, my aim is that the podcast offers some useful insight into a variety of views, opinions, thoughts, and foresights from our guests, who include business leaders and industry experts. If you enjoy the podcast and want to find out any other information, head on over to brianwelsh.co.uk. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Block Talk podcast with me, Brian Welsh. It has been a while. In fact, I think this is the first one of 2025. Tom, we need to really get back on this and get some more, get a podcast calendar in place for the year. But we're kicking off this year with our charity of the year, which is the Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus charity that we have a charity every year. And that is the one that was voted for this year. So we've got some people in. So in here, I've got Kim, who's the community and fundraising manager. I've got Stephen, who's a service user. On remote, we've got Carrie, who's the storytelling and communications lead. You can tell I'm reading this, by the way. And many of you already know Helen, who's CPL's people and culture director. So where are we going first? Right, we're going to, so we need to find a wee bit more about the charity. So Carrie's going to answer some questions for us. So Carrie, for those who might not be familiar, could you explain what Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus are, please?
Yes, so Spina Bifida basically forms when a baby's in the womb. So it's when you're pregnant and the baby's developing, there's a fault in the kind of spinal columns where one or maybe more of the vertebrae or kind of backbone don't form properly. So that usually leaves a kind of opening in the spine. So a baby with Spina Bifida would be born sometimes with the kind of some of their spinal cord kind of out of their spine, and then within kind of 48 hours of birth they have to get an operation to obviously repair that and get surgery. So what usually happens is this kind of flags up at the 20-week scan. You get the scan, they look at all the baby's anatomy, and the sonographer sees an issue and alerts the mum, the parents to that. And then, so often for a lot of our kind of the people we support, that's a massive shock. They're having a baby at 20 weeks, everything's been going fine usually, and then they get this news that your baby has Spina Bifida, and then it's kind of like, where do we go from here? So that's kind of where we come in, where often they'll contact us at that point of like, I don't know what this is, I need help, I need more information, I need to know what this means for me, for my baby going forward. So for a lot of our families, that'll be kind of when they contact us for the first time, will be when they get that news at the scan. Hydrocephalus it's a condition where there's kind of fluid and pressure in the brain that can cause issues. With Spina Bifida, actually, it can be vary in severity. There's quite a strong crossover. Around 80% of people that have Spina Bifida also have hydrocephalus, but there's also people that have hydrocephalus that don't have Spina Bifida, so it's just, quite a lot of different. Again, with that, the severity can be quite different. Someone could have not that many symptoms. Someone could have a lot of pressure. It could be very severe. That could cause like cognitive difficulties, emotional issues, behavioural issues, some learning difficulties, or it's very kind of depending on the type and the severity, the effects on the child or the adult are very different. So it's a kind of hard one to be like, there is no standard. If you have Spina Bifida, you will have this or you will have that. It's very much kind of individual, case by case basis.
Okay. And so how do these conditions affect individuals on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so it's very much a range. So we have service users like Stephen, who has doesn't have as much issue with mobility as some of our users. With some people with the severity of Spina Bifida, it can be that they are paralysed for the waist down and they're wheelchair users. For some people, they can kind of walk a little bit, need to use some mobility aids. And also, I think with hydrocephalus especially, we have a family we support, a little girl, Amber. Her hydrocephalus has been very severe. The pressure in her brain is at kind of extreme, kind of life-threatening levels, unfortunately, throughout her life. She has undergone 29 surgeries so far in 5 years to kind of try and bring that down. So, that can be at the kind of severest end of the scale, it can be very life-threatening. If you have consistent high pressure in your brain, it can cause issues with your optic nerve. You could potentially go blind if it happens over a long period of time. So a lot of people get a thing called a shunt put in, which is kind of in a surgical thing to kind of try and relieve that pressure in their brain and try and relieve the fluid. So there's a lot of kind of, basically if you're kind of a child growing up with these, there's a lot of hospital appointments, a lot of surgeries sometimes, a lot of issues, unfortunately, that kind of arise over time.
Okay, and what are some common misconceptions about spina bifida and hydrocephalus?
So with this, it's quite interesting that actually what we find is a real challenge is that people haven't heard of them enough. So often it's not so much that there is a misconception that no there's no knowledge, or there's very much a lack of awareness. People don't almost have heard about it to form a misconception, if you get what I'm saying. So like one of our, especially hydrocephalus, I mean the data that we have is, I think it was like 30%, 20% of the Scottish population even had heard of it or knew what it was. It was the awareness levels are very low. So that's part of our kind of challenge as a charity to raise awareness of these conditions, how we help our members and support them. So we're always kind of fighting that battle of trying to get knowledge out there, what we do, and also what the conditions are and how they impact people and how we help people. We have a lifetime commitment of support to everyone in Scotland with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. So, we're there to kind of, throughout the journey, so whatever they need, and it's quite one-to-one holistic support. For some people, it might be they come to our family groups and the kids are with other kids that are in wheelchairs or have mobility issues and disabilities. They feel like they belong. They feel, maybe some of them are at mainstream school, but they're the only wheelchair user there. So obviously that, they feel different. They feel like they don't fit in. And so we kind of have these safe spaces where children can like have fun and, be with. Just the joy in that room when you go to family group is just amazing. And they can just put those worries and the challenges aside for a little bit and focus on being children and having fun. And then also the kind of side of, we have health and well-being nurses, a well-being counsellor for adult members, because obviously supporting them with their mental health, issues that come along with a lot of the challenges they face. And so really for us, it's financial. We help them get access financial support. It's really like, what do you need from us? It's holistic, one-to-one. Tell us how you need help and we'll help you, is kind of the way we go about it.
Okay, that's amazing. Thanks very much for that. I have to say, and maybe am I embarrassed to say this, I've absolutely all my life heard of spina bifida, but I've never, up until this charity became our charity of the year, heard of hydrocephalus. In fact, I had to ask Kim and Stephen how to say it before we came on here. So yeah, I get it's a challenge of awareness, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Carrie, for setting the scene there. Okay, Stephen, I have some questions for you. Can you share a bit about your journey living with spina bifida hydrocephalus?
Basically, I was born early 70s. There was not much known about the condition.
Yeah.
There was not the 20-week scan, etc.,
Okay.
that was available to my mother at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was basically born, and that's when they spotted where the neuro defect between my shoulder blades.
Okay.
Where the nerves protruded through the spinal column and actually come right through and were outside the body.
Okay.
It's easily described as giblets.
Right. Okay.
The way it comes out.
Okay.
Immediately, if the doctors hadn't acted in the way they did, I was rushed from Motherwell maternity straight into Stop Hill
Right. Okay.
and operated on that day.
Right. Okay.
If they hadn't cut away the excess nerve endings and closed the defect, I would be paralysed
Okay.
from the chest down.
Wow.
If they hadn't acted as quick. So they operated. The operation was successful, but I was in and out of hospital till I was about 5 years old.
Okay.
I was into Stop Hill for 6 monthly checks, and they also checked me for hydrocephalus, for the pressure in the brain,
Okay.
which fortunately at the time I didn't have.
Okay.
So they checked the defect, they checked the movements, nerve reactions, etc., on these monthly checks, and I went into a mainstream school.
Right.
No problems really at childhood, but as I got older, I had a career in warehouse management for 30 years. And yes, you get aches, pains and creaks because it's the nerves that have been cut away. And you have your own coping mechanisms to deal with the pain that you're on it's chronic pain on a daily basis. But during the pandemic, I collapsed at work.
Okay.
Through various tests, etc., it was discovered that I had osteoarthritis, different things, and this was it all coming to the fore again.
Right. Okay.
And basically, from there, it was a case of getting a package of care in place to see what was happening, to discover what was happening, because obviously the condition wasn't well known at the time. It wasn't talked about, and it was just a case of get on with it.
Yeah.
But I had reached a crossroads in my life, and I wanted to discover more about the condition itself. And that's what led me to Spina Bifida Hydrocephalus, the actual charity itself.
Okay.
Because throughout the years, I had been to GPs and consultants. They would explain the basics that they knew about it, but they weren't specialists in the field.
Yeah.
Now, the charity is the only specialist in the field, and that in itself is immeasurable because the experience they have cannot be beaten. And just to have someone to be able to talk to that understands the condition.
Yeah.
Because looking at me, the stigma that you get is, oh, he looks fine, he doesn't look as though he's got a condition. As I say, through years of work experience in that, you learn to absorb that. You don't rise to that person's level because they are ignorant through lack of knowledge of the condition. And then it's once you actually absorb it, take it in, and then say, right, come down to my level, and you discuss the condition with someone. You can see them backtracking because they don't understand it. But it's all down. It's basically down to education. If you walk into a doctor's surgery, for instance, and you see the info board, with all the different conditions, you don't see Spina Bifida Hydrocephalus.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's all about getting the message out there.
Okay.
And speaking to people and make them aware.
Okay. Okay. So biggest challenges you face and how do you overcome them?
Biggest challenges day to day is pain management.
Okay.
And the associated mental health issues that you get with being in chronic pain.
Right. Okay.
I'm medicated to a certain extent, although I'm not at the top of the scale for medication because I still want my independence through driving, etc.
Okay.
So again, you go back to your coping mechanisms, your strategies,
Yeah.
where you want to do something, say a long walk or whatever, but you meticulously plan it to break it up.
Okay.
And that again adds the stress, into simple tasks.
Okay.
You overcome it by kicking the strategies into place.
Yeah.
And not setting you set yourself smart objectives. But you do set yourself reachable targets so that you've achieved something.
Okay.
But the biggest challenge is day to day is the pain management and the mobility side of it.
Okay. So I guess if you were fully medicated, then
Yep.
you wouldn't be able to drive.
That's it.
Right. So you need to balance
You
that.
need, it's a fine balance every day, and again through the charity, through the health and wellbeing North Caroline that I speak to, it's a case of, well, you can take these meds and then go to your GP. They'll verify it and then they'll issue the prescription.
Right. Okay.
It really is. You get the advice for the charity,
Okay.
or if Caroline's not sure, she'll point you in the direction
Of someone who can.
of someone who can.
Okay. That's good, though. That's good. Okay. So, if there was one thing you wish more people understood about your condition, what would it be?
Never to judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the easiest one. Looks can be deceiving.
Yeah.
A lot of, well, myself, personal experience, I can hide a lot of it inside. If I set myself a target, I'm quite stubborn, but I will reach that target.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever way I decide to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's through, again, the support with the charity and the mental well-being. It's all about your mental health.
Yeah.
And about talking to people. And people looking in don't understand that just being able to talk to someone at the charity that understands what you're saying, not going to a GP and you're part of a conveyor line. It's a case of you're in for 5 minutes, you're back out. Going to the charity and speaking to them, and someone actually knows about the condition.
Yeah.
That is priceless.
Yeah.
Absolutely priceless.
Yeah, it must be, because it's specialism, right? Especially you guys are specialists in what you do. So good. Okay. Sounds like you're getting a lot out of it anyway. So how has SPH Scotland supported you then?
Basically, I was at a crossroads. My family had been told life expectancy for me would be mid-40s. That was early on in the 70s.
Okay. And I know from quick maths and my age that you're well beyond that.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the moment, I'm 52.
Okay.
Again, what you do is you set yourself personal goals.
Yeah.
And I was at a crossroads both in personal life and basically, if you want to call it a midlife crisis, call it a midlife crisis.
Okay.
But round about my 50th birthday, it's the pain that was experienced through the condition basically forced me to seek help. I had no other option.
Yeah.
Again, I wanted to know about the condition. I wasn't getting anywhere with GPs, consultants, etc., etc. Although I was in the system. But as we all know, the NHS has its own issues. So it was a long wait for answers. Yeah. So through basically a lot of research, got in contact with the charity. They phoned me back, and that's when I went up to the centre in Cumbernauld itself and met the health and wellbeing nurse, Caroline. And basically it's half an hour to an hour with her. Basically discussing, as I say, the condition, any issues you've had with the condition. If you're not getting any answers for your GPs, explaining the situation, and Caroline basically pointing you in the right direction. The charity pointing you in the right direction. There's a lot of people in the background that we don't get to see. That we know the charity has them there. You know, that can put you in touch with Citizens Advice, etc. To get you the specialist knowledge of other stuff out with the condition that you need. Because basically I was at the point where I had to give up work. And without the charity's support, I have no idea where I would be at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Because they provide the structure, they provide the confidence, all the information you need.
Yeah, help and everything.
Help and everything to get you through it.
Yeah. Okay. So are there any moments or achievements you're particularly proud of?
Reaching my 50th birthday. Basically, in a nutshell. And as I say, just having had to give up work.
Yeah.
I was living in the breadline after I gave up work. So obviously I had to go to some of the government agencies.
Yeah.
And the frustrating thing for me was the system is set up to fail.
Right, okay.
So I had, through my work experience, etc., had to build up a dossier of the condition, and I couldn't have done that without the charity and the in-depth knowledge.
Yeah.
And first time round, going to the government, I actually presented my own case and was successful.
Okay.
But in the background, I knew the family support and liaison through the charity was there to fall back on if I needed it.
Yeah.
But I was one of the very lucky ones because the system is set up to fail.
Yeah.
And that is, again, one of the biggest achievements was overcoming that. Okay. And daily overcoming, you get up. I'm riddled with arthritis.
Okay.
All my joints. I've got osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
As well as the operation and the nerve damage.
Yeah.
The only way to describe it is sometimes I get a feeling of pins and needles in my head.
Okay.
And that is coming from the cut nerve endings going up and over.
Okay.
There's sometimes where you don't want to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Again, that's the mental side of it. But you need to talk, and there's always someone at the charity there to talk, whether it's email, text, phone. You can lift the phone at any time, and just knowing that someone's there, again, is immeasurable. You can't put that into words.
Yeah.
One-to-one, speaking to someone that knows how you're feeling, and then giving you an answer. This is how you can deal with it. Rather than having to phone up, maybe wait days for a doctor's appointment. You've got someone there. It's instant. And it takes the burden away for the NHS, but you've got the golden nugget that someone there knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're not being fobbed off.
Yeah, yeah. That's it.
And
That's
I
amazing.
think,
Sounds like you guys do some great work.
Sorry, Tom, if I can jump in. I think one thing, especially with Stephen's case, was you were kind of fobbed off, Stephen, weren't you, for at least like 10, 15 years of GPs and healthcare professionals not really believing the level of pain he was in. He came to the charity, he met with Caroline, our health and wellbeing nurse, and she gave him, I think, a card and like a note to take to the GP, and from that he got referred instantly.
Yeah, what actually happened was I had a consultation with Caroline and I explained symptoms, etc. And she gave me her business card for the charity and says, if you have any problem, go to your GP, present the card. If the GP has a problem, ask them to phone me.
Okay.
And instantly when I went in, you don't get angry. You get frustration, but you mask the frustration.
Yeah, yeah.
I spoke to the GP, gave her Caroline's card, and she says, no, it's all right. Whilst you're waiting to see a neurosurgeon, I'll send you for x-rays.
Okay.
And I was immediately sent to the hospital to get x-rays on my neck, which has found out that I've got calcified tendinitis, both shoulders, and I have disc degeneration from the base of the spine down to the site of the operation.
Right, okay.
At the top of the spine, so it was instant.
Right. Okay.
And that for me was the eureka moment. Yeah. Because I was starting to get answers.
Yeah. Right.
And if it hadn't been for Caroline giving me the business card and giving me the confidence to say to the GP rather than be fobbed off to the GP, to actually challenge the GP, then I wouldn't have half the answers that I've got now. Yeah.
Which was what you wanted to know.
Which is what I wanted to know, which again for the mental health is massive. Yeah. You can't put it into words. The relief, and it is relief. There is still questions to be answered because I was sent for a scan in one of the big hospitals in Glasgow, which was an MRI. It should have been a full body MRI, but I'm still fighting for answers as to find out why it was only my neck that was done, because it was supposed to be head and neck, checking for the hydrocephalus, and that was last year. Right. That was 2024. Right. And I'm looking at options to go my own way and get my own private scan.
Yeah, to find out.
Because that is the only piece of the jigsaw, personally, for me, that is left. Because if I find out that it is the nerve endings that are causing the sensations at the top of the head, top of the brain, I've got my answer. Yeah. And I can deal with it, I can live with it.
Yeah. But if it's not, then you want to know. Right?
If it's not, I want to find out what the solution is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to fight for a solution. I'm not just going to take it and say, well, I've got that and that's it. Yeah. I want a resolution to it, or I want an answer to it so that I can deal with it.
Yeah. No, understood. Okay. I'm really pleased you came in actually to have that conversation. It was good to meet you and to go through that. Right, so I've got some questions for Kim now. Can I just shove this across so that you can hear, or other people can hear you? Because nobody ever has a problem hearing me. Um, okay, so Kim, community and fundraising manager, how does Spina Bifida Hydrocephalus Scotland support those living with SBNH?
Yeah, well, like Stephen's been saying at SBH Scotland, we believe that nobody should be left alone to cope with the side effects of living with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. So our mission is really to make sure that we can do everything that we can to empower people living with the conditions to feel unstoppable.
Okay.
So the charity was actually formed back in 1965 by a group of parents who each had a child who was living with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. So they formed the charity as like a peer-to-peer support network,
Okay.
but also to form one collective voice who could then advocate for the individual needs of their children.
Yeah.
And really, that's still at the core of everything that we do as a charity. All of the services that we deliver, people's individual needs are still at the core of what we do. But we have grown into a national charity, and we now offer support to over 4,000 children and young people and adults who are living with the conditions. And that is through our family support centre in Cumbernauld that Stephen's mentioned, where some of our services and our support groups and so on are run out of, but also remotely across Scotland as well.
Okay.
So we have staff who are based in the west and the east and up north in Aberdeenshire, but we also run lots of remote sessions online as well, because obviously not everybody is able to physically access where we're based. And we're staffed by a really dedicated and experienced team of clinical staff and family support workers who do visits and provide support in a number of settings. So in people's homes, they do hospital visits, and they also go out and work in schools and nurseries as well and do training there about how to help the staff there to help with the additional learning and physical challenges that people with spina bifida, children with spina bifida and hydrocephalus have. So like Carrie mentioned earlier, what we do is provide a really holistic lifetime of support. So that's right through from the 20-week scan where maybe the parents find out that diagnosis that their baby will be born with spina bifida or hydrocephalus throughout their whole life. And obviously at that moment where those parents are given that news, it can be a real shock.
Yeah.
And that picture that they've maybe had in their brain of the life that their child is going to have is turned upside down. And they need, like you've been saying, Stephen, somewhere to go for answers and information, to be able to come to terms with that news and plan for the future. And that's where SBH Scotland step in to provide those tools and resources to be able to do that. So all of the services that we provide are provided free of charge. And it's quite a lot of services. We have a helpline, we do one-to-one support, benefits advice that you'd mentioned, Stephen. We run health check clinics with our nurse, Caroline. And we do lots of support groups as well that are a key part of what we do. We also do monthly online workshops and groups that are focused on mental health and well-being, continence, mobility, pain management, like you mentioned, that are obviously hugely important for the people that we support. Also, our health check clinic, so Caroline is based out of our family support centre in Cumbernauld, and we've got a fully equipped treatment room there that has everything that she needs to help people like Stephen. And one of the main services that she provides is around continence, because 75% of people who have spina bifida will have issues with continence.
Okay.
And obviously that's quite a hard subject matter for people to talk about. So having Caroline there who can talk about it and, in a safe space, and she's extremely knowledgeable, is a hugely important resource that we have. And then I think you'd mentioned, or Carrie had mentioned about our family support groups and adult support groups. We run them about once a month in the west, east, and up north as well.
Right.
And they are a chance for parents to come together and meet other parents who are experiencing a lot of the same challenges that they are with having a child with spina bifida and hydrocephalus.
Okay.
And again, it's just that safe space where there's no judgment. Everybody understands. They can have open and honest conversations and really provide that peer-to-peer support for each other. But also the children and the adults that come to our support groups, they get that too. It's an opportunity to build friendships that can, last a lifetime because they've got this huge bond and this thing in common. And one of the things that our support groups provide is the opportunity sometimes for a child who maybe has mobility issues or is a wheelchair user to meet another child who's just like them.
Yeah.
They've maybe never had that before in the playground or at school. And they can make friends with another child who, is in that same situation, facing the same challenges. So our support groups are a place where people feel like they belong. They're included, they're accepted, and they can kind of be themselves. Our support groups are hugely important. And on top of them, what we do is we supplement them with outings throughout the year as well, about once a month as well. So that's just really fun things, like we've done trekking with alpacas and trips to Blair Drummond and meals out and things, and we do Christmas parties and so on. So just, we've been described as a second family for a lot of our families, and that's really what we try to do, is to be there like that. And Carrie had mentioned earlier about one of the mums that we provide support to called Leanne, and her little girl Amber, who's 5 and has had 29 operations already. And just before Christmas 2023, she had to go into hospital for a really high risk surgery. They weren't sure that Amber would make it through. But she did, thankfully. But she was still in hospital over Christmas, and they couldn't have that family Christmas at home that they would have wanted. So Mel and Karen, who are 2 of our family support workers, they went out to the hospital and visited the family there.
Okay.
And just, they just brought them gifts and gave them a hug and put a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And I think that just is core to what we do as a charity. We just provide the little things that kind of make life worthwhile for people. So that fun and friendship and understanding to really enable people living with the conditions to live the best life they possibly can.
Okay. And obviously, for that to happen, you need money.
Yeah.
So what difference does that fundraising make to families and individuals affected?
I mean, fundraising makes a huge difference. Literally, without fundraising, the charity couldn't exist, and all of those services that we've all talked about, wouldn't be provided. There's a massive gap in the health and social care system, for the NHS, and we bridge that gap at the moment. So without fundraising for the charity to exist, people really would be left alone to cope with the effects of the conditions. We need to raise 1.4 million every year, so it's not pocket money.
It's a chunky number.
It's a chunky number, and most of that comes through people and companies like yourself providing us with support. We do get a small amount of statutory funding from the government, but that is reducing year on year. And this year it's looking like that will be less than 7% of our annual costs.
Right. Okay.
So we have a huge amount of money that we need to raise each year. And some of that is through grants and appeals, but a lot of it comes through our fundraising events that we hold annually. So things like our Barn Supper and our golf day, and also a lot of challenge events, like we do a zip slide across the Clyde and abseils and marathons, and we're involved in the Kilt Walk. So we do a huge number of events throughout the year. Also, just support from people and companies like yourself is absolutely vital to help us raise that amount. And that fundraising, it really does provide all those services. So without it, we wouldn't be able to provide that benefits advice or go and do that training in the nurseries and schools to allow teachers to be able to support people. Like the charity wouldn't exist without it.
Okay. Absolutely, and that's a big number, and you have to start from scratch every year and start fundraising
That's
again.
it. That's it.
Okay, talking about fundraising, Helen, can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Good. You're not moving on the screen I'm looking at, but I'm sure you're still there.
Am I now?
That's
am
fine.
I now?
Okay. So, what fundraising initiatives are CPL or do CPL have coming up throughout the year?
We've got quite a bit, but just before I get into that, I just wanted to say really quickly to a massive thank you to all of you guys for coming on the podcast. And I know you sort of said at the beginning it's to raise awareness, and it really has for me. I was aware of hydrocephalus, but I wasn't aware of the full impact that it can have on somebody. So thank you to Carrie for kind of going through that. Massive thank you to Stephen as well for talking about your journey. It's been so insightful, and it's quite like you said, it wasn't something that was detected in your scan, so your family didn't benefit from the support that the families now would do. But it's so nice that you've been able to connect with SPH now, and benefit from all their amazing work. And finally, thank you very much to Kim as well for kind of talking about what incredible things the charity do. It's such a range. It's such a range of things, because normally you kind of get advice or support, and you're not the full range, and not right the way down to those community groups and making people feel connected and having those relationships. This must be so important. And it kind of leads me nicely on to what we're doing. So we're doing 3 kind of main events this year, plus a few little bits here and there. The first one that we're starting out is a walk up Kilimanjaro, kind of virtually. So 12 of our team out of 32, which is quite a big number. I should have done the stats, but it's at least a third, right? We're all walking Mount Kilimanjaro over the month of February. So we're all kind of getting out braving. It's actually snowing where a couple of the team are today, but they've still got out and done a good couple of miles to raise some money for SPH, which is amazing. And it's been such a lovely thing because we can all connect, and we're all kind of cheering each other on Strava, and sharing photos of where we're doing and stuff like that. So it's a really nice kind of connection between us. And we'll be putting that out on LinkedIn soon to try and get some. I mean, I can say at the moment we're 6 days into February when we're recording this, and we've already walked 88 miles between us. So we're getting there. We're making some good mileage. We've got 372 in total. So we're making some good progress along there, and I'm quite confident we'll do it by the end of Feb. So once that's finished in February, I'm actually going to be swimming the English Channel. Between March, April and May, I'm going to be going to my local swimming pool and doing all of the length of the English Channel across those few months to try and raise some money as well, and get out there on all of my socials and try and raise a bit of money. I'll spare you that I will be sending photos through of the Mount Kilimanjaro. I'll spare you all the photos of the swimming challenge. But yeah, we will. I'll wait for you someone at the end, fully dressed, to say. And last but by no means least, the lovely Brian, who is actually, I should say to people, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing, that he isn't great with heights. It's not his favourite thing. I wouldn't say you're absolutely petrified, but it's not your kind of go-to. That's fair to say, isn't it, Brian? It's not something you're.
No, it's definitely not. I did have a bit of what's it called? Oh, hypnosis for my fear of heights, and actually it is slightly better than it used to be. It used to be very, very bad, but yeah, no, it's not good. And actually, do you want to carry on, and I'll tell you what the worst bit is, and I'm not looking forward to that. So I just found out about
Brian's going to do Zipside the Clyde, which the amazing team at SPH are putting on as kind of big groups to do, where you, as it sounds like, you do a big zip line down the climb, but maybe Brian will explain what that involves.
Well, I've done a zip wire before. In fact, I did it in the summer with my brother, and I was petrified. I did it in Croatia, but I started from land and finished on land. And I've just realized, although Helen tells me I did know this if I'd read my email, which I hadn't, that you have to go up in a crane to get to the point where you go on the zip. that's the bit that I'm not going to like. I just that will scare the hell out of me. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that at all. I'm just hopefully nobody. In fact, should get someone to come with me and video me at that point, because yeah, that's not good. I mean, the zip bit will be easy after that. Yeah,
it'll be worth it once you're up there. The worst bit is definitely going up, and then you get fantastic views. So
yes, I'm sure you do, but yeah, it's not making me feel any better. So yes. Anyway,
it's
Helen,
the lift on the way up to the crane that some people like, not to put you off, but it's not the biggest journey lift. Anyway, I'll make sure we're there with a videographer that day.
Yes, thank you for that.
Honestly, I think our network would like to see it for sure.
That's already booked, isn't it, Helen?
Yeah. I just need to finalise that. But yes, it's on the Friday. Yeah,
might send Tom instead. He's shaking his head after last year.
Yeah, so there's lots of fun things planned for the year to try and bring our team together, but also to raise some incredible funds for a very, very deserving charity that do amazing work.
Cool, good, thank you for that. And I have one more question for you. Can you talk a little about the charity committee within CPL and the impact that having a charity of the year is having on our team?
Of course, yeah. I mean, we have been doing charity of the year for a couple of years now. I joined CPL 2 years ago and I set this up. I would say to anybody, any businesses out there that are listening and that don't have a charity of the year scheme, please do it. Please consider it. Ping me into my LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk you through. I'm happy to help you get it set up because it is so beneficial to the business. It's something that makes a huge, huge difference to charities. And we specifically partner with smaller charities because, you know, like Kim quite rightly said, the percentage of funding that you get is relatively small, whereas the larger charities are also very deserving. I'm not saying one's more deserving than the other, but it certainly means that we're targeting and making a big difference to smaller charities, which is what we want to do, and that's how we want to partner. So it has a massive impact on the smaller charities that really desperately need funding. But I would also say, as a business, it brings you together like you definitely underestimate how much it brings you all together. I mean, we've got little chats and stuff, and as I say, we're all taking photos of our walks, and we're all connecting, and we're all thinking, what more can we do for SBH? The charity committee meet regularly and are talking about stuff, and it's just the actual benefits to the charity aside. As a business, it means that people from different departments that wouldn't normally talk to each other are connecting. It means that you're much more we're a fully remote company. Yes, we have offices across the UK and we've got a couple of kind of satellite people that go into those regularly, but generally speaking we're all across the UK, and it's a great way to bring us all together and feel connected. So yeah, as I say, anybody who would like to set this up and doesn't know where to start, I'm more than happy to help, because I think it's most importantly, it makes a big difference to the charity, but it also has that added benefit of having a huge impact on the people in your teams as well. So win-win.
Yep, I agree. It is great to see. I mean, it's great to see so many people in CPL get involved as well. Although I don't see anyone putting their hands up to do a zip line across the fly. Never mind. We'll see. Maybe we can get a substitute. No, I'm only joking. I'll do it. Okay, Helen, Carrie, Stephen, Kim, thanks very much for coming on. It's been great. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for having us all on. It's brilliant to be able to share a little bit about the charity, and thank you so much for your support. We're really looking forward to working with you all this year, and yeah, we really can't say thank you enough.
Okay, thanks very much. Brilliant. Thank you.